6 months ago my husband came bursting into the bathroom to catch me using my vibrator in the shower. He threw a hissy fit about it and said that it was basically cheating and guilted me into apologizing and promising not to do it again. The next time we went to use my vibrator, during sex as we basically always did, it had stopped working, mysteriously in hindsight. I often used it in the shower, I guess just because that's basically the only time I get to myself. I eventually just turned to using the shower head, and one time he pounded on the door during to ask what I was doing. Again, I didn't really think much of it at the time. Tonight I was showering, and not doing anything else, and when I came out and he was being short and pissy with me. I asked if everything was okay and he says, "So how was your shower?" I said fine. Confused. He goes on to say he knows what I was doing in there, and I responded by asking what he was talking about, to which he replied that every time I shower he sits outside the bathroom door and listens to see if I'm masturbating. I was so shocked I didn't even know what to say. How can I tell him that this is a violation of my privacy and personal space without him feeling like I'm disrespecting him? Oop, thank you all for your responses. They have been eye-opening. I'm feeling a little overwhelmed by how much more severe you're making me realize this is. Oop, well, just as I'm reading all these replies I'm realizing all the different ways. What I eat because he thinks everything is bad for you, what I read because the books I read are also basically cheating, who I hang out with because my friends are all losers dragging me down, that I want to go to the gym because who am I trying to show off for, why am I wearing leggings? Who am I trying to show my ass to, etc., etc., etc. As I stated in this update, I called my dad and basically just explained that we were having some issues, and just to ease my mind I wanted him to come down and be nearby when I talked to my husband. He did not press for more info and told me that he was on his way. He and my mom live / 6 hours away, so it's not exactly a very ideal ask, but he didn't even hesitate, which I am grateful for. He arrived Friday night and parked outside our condo, and we agreed that I'd call him and immediately hang up if I needed him to come inside, in case my husband got aggressive or angry. I did not expect him to, since he never has before, but some of the comments made me feel like I'd better be safe rather than sorry. I debated all day Friday about how exactly to approach this situation and how I could trigger this conversation without him shutting down or getting angry. I decided to casually approach the conversation and ask him how he'd feel about me getting another vibrator, to replace the one that mysteriously broke after he caught me using it in the shower. In response he asked what for? To which I replied because it feels good. I knew this would be his response, but it was something along the lines of what am I not good enough? As it usually was in the past. I explained to him that it has nothing to do with him not being good enough, and that sex is supposed to be fun and experimental and interesting, and that it was just something that would make it better for both of us. He then suggested that I just wanted it to use on myself, to which I asked if that would be a problem. He told me that I know how he feels about that, and so I asked him why he was bothered by the idea of me masturbating. He got very defensive and asked why I would want that when I could have him, so I asked if he ever felt like he'd rather just pleasure himself rather than going through the motions of having sex. He said no, and that he's not a beta who spends his days stroking when he could be doing, anything more productive. I explained to him that that was okay if it was his preference, but that sometimes my sexual desires are to pleasure myself versus having sex. That's when his same ridiculous argument came out of that being basically cheating. Pulling from another Redditor, I explained that cheating involves multiple people, and that it is impossible to be cheating if I am alone. He told me to fuck off and go stick the shower head between my legs. I started to get upset and realized that here is when I always back down. I feel the need to apologize and make him feel better. It'd usually have started something and would end up guilt fucking him because I felt bad, but I didn't. I told him that he made me feel like he was trying to control me and my body, and that I wasn't okay with that. He told me I could go be a fucking whore somewhere else then, and got up off the couch and ran upstairs. I could hear him slamming my drawers open and acting like he was putting my clothes in a bag. I resisted the urge to run up there after him and just decided to sit there and see what would happen. Eventually he came back downstairs and apologized and said that he's very uncomfortable with the idea of me masturbating in our home. When I asked him to explain why, he said because it makes him feel unwanted. I told him that this isn't true, and that I do want him, but sometimes I just want that, and he said okay I guess. I decided to leave it at that for the night, and didn't want to press any further. I told my dad it was okay to go and that I was so sorry for wasting his time, and he told me he'd be staying the weekend at a hotel just to be safe. Eventually we went up to bed, and I realized if I left it at that it would just get swept under the rug like it always does. I'd go on putting up with this until it came full circle again, and I was not going to do that to myself. I decided to ask him about him telling me that he listened to me when I showered. I told him I want Ed to talk about it, and he told me that he was just joking and that I'm a fucking moron if I actually thought he was serious. I told him that it was an odd joke, especially considering he was angry and very much not laughing when he told me. He insisted that he was joking, and I told him that I didn't believe him. He then responded by saying he wouldn't do it again. This went in circles for a bit before he finally admitted to deciding to do this after catching me in the shower. Instead of accusing him of anything, I asked him if he thought that was an invasion of my privacy, to which he informed me that we are married and I do not have privacy. I told him that was an issue and that in order to have a healthy marriage we both needed privacy. He was determined that there is such thing as privacy in marriage, so I flat out asked him if he wanted me in the bathroom while he was pooping. He said no. I said right, because you want your privacy. He told me that's different. Over the course of the next 10 minutes or so, this escalated from a simple conversation into a full-blown screaming match, and we got absolutely nowhere in our argument. It was like talking to a brick wall. I was so heated by this point that I don't even remember what was said, but he eventually told me I was a fucking worthless whore, that I had nothing without him, that my vag was disgusting and made him sick, that I was fat and no one will ever want me, I'm 125 pounds BTW, that I'm lucky someone like him would even look in my direction, etc., etc., etc. I could barely see my phone through the tears and I called my dad and asked him to come get me. My husband looked at me and said, your fucking dad isn't driving 6 hours to come get you, you dumb fuck. I started to grab some random things of mine and yell that he was here staying in town, and he broke down and started sobbing. He told me that he knows he's controlling, that he has serious issues, and that he's terrified of losing me. He said that he knows he's not good enough for me and that he's so afraid of losing me that he's pushing me away to save himself the inevitable heartache. He said that if he ever lost me he'd himself. As I watched this grown-ass man snotting and crying in a heap on the floor, I kinda realized that I feel nothing for him. Like, nothing. The blinders I've been wearing were removed and I no longer saw the handsome, intelligent, caring, strong man I once did. I saw a pathetic, abusive, controlling, sad, and sick person. I came to the realization in that moment that there's no fixing this, and even if he does change, I would never trust him or see him in the same way again. My dad knocked on the door and my husband ran and hid in the bathroom. I took my bags and went outside to meet him. He asked me if I wanted to talk about what was going on and I said no. He asked what I needed from him and I asked if we could just go back to his hotel room. He asked if my husband hit me and I said no. Before we had even gotten to the hotel my husband began texting me. It started with pleading with me to stay and forgive him and turned into insults over the course of the next day or so. He never threatened me physically, but told me if I didn't come home I'd lose him forever, that I'd be losing out on the best man I'd ever have, etc., etc. He told me that his friends laughed at him for being with such an ugly bitch, that his parents hate me because they know I'm not good enough for him, that I couldn't get pregnant because I'm probably a fucking whore banging other guys on the side, that he was embarrassed to be seen with me in public, and so much more. I'm leaving. And not because Reddit told me to, because I'm genuinely not even remotely interested in staying with him and because I deserve better. I spoke to a friend from school, and will be staying with her until I'm done school next month. After that, I'm going home to figure some things out and get a fresh start. I'm currently in BD in a hotel room with my dad and have never felt more loved or safe. He is going to go over to the house tomorrow and retrieve my belongings, after which he is helping me move into my friend's apartment and then heading home. I don't have much to say at this point other than thank you again to everyone who made me realize how dangerous this situation could have been. I was determined that we were not going to divorce, but after Friday night I don't think there's any going back to that. I'm over it. I might update again, I might not. But making that post genuinely might have saved my life. Update 2. I have not blocked his number because I want to collect these messages in case they are needed during divorce proceedings or anything like that. Also, no, I have not responded at any point. Eventually he turned to sending me texts about how he'd been cheating on me the entire time we were together and told me that he fucked 2 girls the night of his bachelor party. I forgot to mention, I wasn't allowed to have a stag party. Whether he's telling the truth or not, I don't really care. He also told me that he can't believe how easy I was and that he never intended to stay with me but that he just wanted to fuck me when I turned 18 and dip. He stopped texting me after sending me an essay on Wednesday about how he was going change and wanted another chance and all that. I have to confess that I almost caved reading that because he was saying things that made me believe that he was telling the truth. This is a very scary time for me and staying is always more convenient, but I just had to remind myself that he was just saying anything he could to try and get his way. I began to realize just how complicated divorce is. It's not just pack up and leave. We have a joint bank account, bundled auto insurance and phone plans, I have his last name, his name is on my car loan, all of our subscriptions are shared, etc. Thanks to all the Redditors who shared great advice with his stuff and I have began the process of severing these ties. I started by canceling all of our shared subscriptions and then deleting our shared email account. I also called our phone provider and they were super helpful and offered to just split our plans, but I wanted to switch to a different company just to be safe and they essentially just canceled my line without much hassle at all. I got a new phone and number and am now on my parents' plan. I also turned off my shared location with him before that, and since, like I said, I've gotten a new number and blocked him on all social media, changed my email address and updated all of my accounts and services with a new email and a new password. I also made a new Apple ID since I can't just buy a new laptop for school given the cost, so that should also ensure he has no access to my info as well. My parents and I, met, virtually, with a divorce lawyer that my dad knows and referred me to on Wednesday and she is taking care of getting me off of the joint bank account, locking my credit, didn't even know this was a thing but, thanks to the Redditor who mentioned it, getting his name off of my car loan, and getting the formal process started for divorce. I don't want any money, I just want out as fast as possible. I am moved into my friend's apartment. It's a 2-bedroom/2-bathroom, so I stole her library/office/music room, but she was so accepting of me joining her, and having our own space is nice even if it's just for a couple months. I am so grateful to her for letting me stay and not even questioning it. As many of you mentioned, yes, my dad is a literal rock star. He, my mom, and my friends have all been so helpful and supportive, and I cannot thank them enough. My dad went to the house Monday to retrieve my belongings, and he took my friend's boyfriend with him, mostly just to help pack and move everything as fast as possible, but also just in case he was home and anything went sideways. My dad said he was me and refused to answer the door at first, but eventually did, and just sat at the kitchen table the entire time they were there. I don't own much. I took a bunch of clothes and essentials like bathroom stuff and electronics with me when I left, so they were in and out in like 45 minutes. Basically everything in that house was purchased with his own money. My divorce lawyer is basically taking care of everything because I seriously need to focus on school right now, but I want this process wrapped up as quickly as possible. My exams wrap in late June, and I'm trying to be calm and patient because if I'm just in a huge rush to get out of here, I fear that my exams will go very poorly. My friend is helping me a lot with studying and getting prepared, and I always join study groups in preparation for exams, which are super helpful as well. No, this is not the first time he's turned to insults during an argument or when he doesn't get his way, but it's by far the most hurtful and explosive. I am 100% committed to divorce, and I will not be looking back or changing my mind, no matter what happens at this point. This is a promise that I have made to myself, and it's a promise that I really struggle to make. I still feel sick and have a constant nerve in my stomach, because the idea of actually leaving and starting over is extremely terrifying. Thankfully I have a great support network and know that I will have people there to help me through this every step of the way. I also just keep reading the messages he sent me the last few days and reminding myself that no one talks to someone they love like that, and that he is no example of a man I want to spend the rest of my life with. My dad went home yesterday, reluctantly I might add, and he and my mom are both coming back to visit next weekend. Also, if you think that this is fake or exaggerated, I genuinely could not care less. I am the one living this shit, and I do not need people downplaying the trauma I am going through. I also do not need to hear that you think I'm overreacting or that I'm in the wrong. The event I originally posted about is not the only reason I am leaving. I am leaving because that post and those commenting opened my eyes to just how controlling and abusive this man is and always has been. Think that's it for now. Thanks so much to all of you for being so great to me. This is the hardest thing I've ever gone through, but I just keep reminding myself that I will be okay and that I can do this. Update 3. I'm living with a friend as I'm in the midst of a breakup from a 4-year relationship. I'm now kinda realizing that I have no idea what to do with myself when I get home from school. Anyone else experience this, and how did you overcome it? Has anyone else separated from an abusive partner and still felt like you missed them afterwards? I feel like I'm stuck in this loop of missing him and then beating myself for missing him, because how the fuck can I possibly be missing him? Any advice or support is appreciated. Hi all. It's been a while since I posted anything, so I figured I'd share a mini update. Things are going well, but also not well. I'm struggling some days and thriving others. Some days I feel relief, others I feel pain. It's all just part of the process. Living with my friend is fun but also challenging in some ways. We're having a great time, but sometimes I struggle with adjusting to the change, at no fault of hers. I talked to my department head at school about everything going on just so that they're aware, but I haven't requested any special accommodations or anything like that. Studying away here and working on the last few big assignments as well. I've met with my divorce lawyer a few times and the process has been started. Our phones, bank accounts, etc. are all separate now. His name will be off my car loan soon. My last name will hopefully be changed back soon, but there's a lot of logistics involved with this. I haven't heard from him in quite a while. He finally stopped texting me after sending me a super long message about how he wanted me back and whatever. Sometimes I find myself wishing he would text me for some strange reason. I guess it makes me a little uneasy not knowing where he is or what he's up to or something. The emotions that I've been feeling are so strange and confusing. I've been working out daily, which I love, and it definitely helps me feel better. I've also been getting really into nutrition and cooking new and more interesting food. Catch me onto my wellness era. Anyways, not much else to report. Thankfully I'm safe and haven't really had any concerns with that. My parents visited once, which was nice. They text and call me every day. Like I've said before, I'm just focused on school right now. Once I'm graduated and back home, I'll finally be able to start healing and focusing on myself for a bit. Now on to second story. Fiancé keeps pressuring me to invite my estranged parents to our wedding, despite knowing the pain they caused me throughout my life. My dad left the family and went no contact when I, 35 male, was 4. My mom remarried and had 2 kids with my stepdad. My stepdad never treated me poorly but always made clear that I was Dale, fake name, to him. He was not my dad. My mom never tried to fix the relationship and honestly loved her new family and always saw me as a burden. That's what I thought, at least until it was confirmed after my freshman year of college when my mom asked me not to come home anymore. I blocked her after that phone call and have had no contact with her or my stepdad, and half-brother, since then. I do still speak to my half-sister, 25F, at her insistence, but that's my only contact. It took me a long time to deal with basically being kicked out of my family. I grew to be pretty independent and thought I'd live alone until I met my fiancée, 28F, 4 years ago. We have had a great relationship and her family opened up and invited me in, with open arms. She comes from a pretty typical suburban family and they are great. Over the years I've told her about my issues with my family. She has met my sister and she never pushed for more, until we started planning the wedding. When we started talking about who we would invite, I talked about friends from college and coworkers and she kept saying I should invite my parents. At first I thought she was just trying to gauge if I wanted to. I said I would not be inviting my parents. She said okay, but then brought it up again the next day. I calmly explained how much they hurt me, how growing up feeling you were unwanted and then having it confirmed at 19 really stunted my mental health. That over the years I have realized it's their problem and if they ever want to solve it then they can initiate, but I am in contact with my sister and it is clear they are happy insisting I don't exist. It sucks, but it's their problem that they have thrust onto me. I can't be the one to solve it. I thought it had ended, but she has brought it up 2 more times. The last one was last night. We were about to start the save the dates and she said, "Are you sure you don't want to invite your parents? I feel like I might just invite them on my side." And I snapped. I told her we should probably just throw the invitations away because if you can't respect what I've been through then I don't want to marry you. I then went to our bedroom and fumed for a while. She came in to try to talk to me and I walked out, grabbed my keys and left. I came back around 11 p.m. after hanging with friends and slept on the couch. She left for work without a word to me and I don't know where we stand. Her behavior is unacceptable, but I feel I may have gone too far. Update 1. My fiancé normally gets home around 5:30 p.m. so after I was done working, I work from home, I waited for her to show up. Got very worried when it was 6 and she still wasn't home, but around 6:15 she shows up with my sister, which was a big surprise. While my sister and I connect every Thursday, we live 45 minutes away from each other, so her popping by is not normal. Both of them looked very anxious, so I was very confused. I asked them what was going on and my sister just bursts into tears and saying she's sorry. After like 5 minutes of her losing her shit, she starts talking about the family. So apparently when she told my mom and Dale that I got engaged, it started a rift between them. Not because they cared about me, but about how my half-brother, which is 27, is still living at home, single with no steady job. If you're thinking, wow, they kicked you out at 19 but let him stay there past when he could rent a car, don't worry, I said it out loud. My mom apparently wants to do the same to my half-brother, but Dale won't let her. So they are currently separated, with my mom living family and refusing to come back until my half-brother is out of the house. For some reason that defies all logic and reason, my sister thinks getting an invite to my wedding will bring the family together, since it was my engagement that caused the rift. At this I blew up a bit. I told her that my engagement had nothing to do with it, that their shitty parenting and poor relationship skills caused it and don't put that shit on me. She cried even harder, and this time I was not going to console her. My fiancé is just sitting there the whole time, so while my sister is trying to get herself together, I question my fiancé about this. She also tears up a bit but tells me my sister was telling her about how I always bring up the family on our Thursday and that deep down I wanted to repair the relationship. I asked how she could believe that when I was very clear that I was no contact with my family and had never mentioned wanting to be in contact. I told her that I tell her everything and would never hold back something like this without talking to her. She's always been my sounding board. When I switched jobs last year, we talked about IT every night and her advice mattered more than anyone else. She apologized and then wanted to show me her phone. Specifically the messages between her and my sister. At this point my sister perks up and asks her not to show the phone conversation. But my fiancé tells her she's trying to save her relationship. My sister has just been straight up lying about our Thursday conversations. Saying how I was always talking about reconciling, how I would never admit it but I'm partially at fault too, how I really want to see them all again. Every time I would tell my fiancé no, she would text my sister and my sister would talk about how I just couldn't be open because I was embarrassed. Just completely false. I would be perfectly happy never seeing any of them again. I can't believe my sister still sees them. At this I tell my half-sister to leave and that Thursdays are cancelled. My sister puts up a little bit of a fight but I ignore her until she leaves. She keeps saying sorry over and over again, but honestly I'm done with her. I've blocked her and will be no contact with her for the time being. A complete betrayal of my feelings and relationships. As for my fiancé and I am still very upset. She went behind my back with my sister. Never asked me about it. Let my sister manipulate her and honestly hurt me. I told her I love her but my trust is broken. We've agreed to go to couples therapy and see if we can repair the relationship. I hope we can, but I'd say it's a toss-up for me. She's got a lot of work to do.